Wouldn't it just be great? He's just like, oh no, I'm disarmed. That's what you think, and he just fucking eye lasers somebody. Okay, I'm talking about eye lasers too much, so let's get.
I just had a visual of Rat Trap with no arms, being all like, "Man, I'm disarmed."
You seem to have me at a disadvantage.
And then he just eye lasers everyone.
Too much energy.
Hello again, fellow Cybertronians. Welcome back to Too Much Energon, the weekly podcast where we review every episode of Beast Wars ever in production order, starting from the beginning. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I'm your other host, NeoCal.
Howdy doody, Cal.
Hi, duty, pretty fine. I liked this episode. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, we're just diving right into it, hey? Yeah, I gotta say, this is probably my... This is definitely my favorite episode so far.
This is the most amount of notes I've taken on anything in my life.
Me too, and I went to university. How irresponsible is that? So... This week on Too Much Energon, we are reviewing the 7th episode in production order, which was the 8th episode in US broadcast order, and fuck me, but I can't remember when exactly it aired in Canada, so...
I'm sure it did.
Oh, it definitely did, I just can't remember when, so we're just
And it's called Double Jeopardy!
Yes, it's called Double Jeopardy. This is a very important episode, because it introduces a character who becomes quite vital to the series going forward. So yeah, the episode wastes no time. We get started with a stasis pod, once again, breaking orbit and crashing down into the planet. This time, unlike the last stasis pod, which was the one that from the episode Fallen Comrades that introduced Tigatron to the series, this time, as the stasis pod is coming in, we actually get a glimpse of the protoform robot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get kind of like a 3-second like glimpse of them. And they're just kind of like very neutral. Like they're just neutral colored, neutral. They don't have a... Not that any of them really do. Well, except the new one, a gender. But yeah, it's just kind of like a blank template robot, which is kind of cool.
Although its face does have features that are evocative of how this character will look.
Oh, do they have the high cheekbones and
the eyes? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have enhanced and double enhanced and got a closer look. So it does. They do kind of look like the Transformer that is about to be in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
From there, we cut to Optimus and Dinobot walking in a snowy little ravine with
almost like near a glacier? Or something weird?
Yeah, there's some kind of like glacial cliff in front of them. Or not cliff, the bottom of a cliffside in front of them.
Yeah, it almost looks like it was a waterfall at some point, but it froze mid waterfall.
Yeah, Dinobot's bitching about the cold. And
yeah, he like says, cold, my servo fluids are within 2 degrees of crystallization. So servo fluids are a thing.
Yeah, servo fluids are a thing. I don't even know what that means, really.
It's an interesting way of saying that he's about to freeze. He knows he's exactly within 2 degrees of crystallization.
Yeah, but what is servo fluid? Is it just... I'm assuming it's supposed to be his blood, although...
It's Transformer blood.
Although, in last week's episode, The Web, Cheetor refers to his blood as mech fluid.
You seem to think that there's some sort of verbal relationship between the writers of one episode and the writers of another. Mech fluid, servo fluid.
Well, and...
or maybe they are different.
Well, and time is a thing that is expressed differently from episode to episode. Like, sometimes they say seconds, sometimes they say nanocycles, sometimes they say minutes, sometimes they say cycles, etc.
That is true, yeah, they do say that.
Yeah, it gets...
nanocycles. What is a nanocycle? Is that a real thing?
Well, it's a thing from the show. I don't know that it's an actual thing, as with most things in this show.
But when it comes to distances, I think they do use kilometers. They're metric.
Optimus Primal says clicks a lot,
Yeah, I noticed that.
I think a click is a kilometer.
Yeah, I think that's just slang for a kilometer.
Yeah, I do remember. Have you ever seen the movie Evolution with David Duchovny and Julianne Moore, Sean William Scott?
Is that where they use Head and Shoulders
Yes, it is.
to beat the... Wow.
Yeah.
I had to dive into the recesses of my buried subconscious to pull that out.
So I love that movie. Like, it's a movie not a lot of people remember, and it didn't really make much of a splash when it came out. But I love that movie. But late in the movie, when they're riding on the fire truck filled with Head and Shoulders to shampoo the alien to death.
That's all I remember. By the way, is it
what
sponsored by Head and Shoulders?
it ends with a Head and Shoulders commercial.
Okay. That explains a lot.
So yeah, one character at one point is like, "Oh, how long till we reach the alien?" And another character is like, "Oh, we're about 3 clicks away." And then David Duchovny is like, "Clicks? What are you, in Nam?"
What are you, in Nam?
Yeah, Vietnam.
Did Americans use metric while they were in Vietnam?
I don't know, but the point is anytime I hear anyone refer to a kilometer as clicks, it always just makes me think of that line from that movie.
Wow, you and only you.
Yeah, me and only me. As with a lot of things.
As with the barely anybody that watched or remembered that.
Along with this show that we're reviewing right now. So speaking of which...
I'm sure our show is getting at least half as many views as the Evolution did.
I would hope. So,
God.
then therefore we have 3 listeners.
Yes.
And they're all in Turkey.
Yes. They're all in Turkey. So Optimus is like, where is it? It's not here. And Rat Trap says, well, if it was a snake, it'd bite ya.
Yeah, so Rat Trap's back at the Maximal base. They radio him, and they're like, where's the stasis pod? We don't see it. And Rat Trap, like you said, is like, if it was a snake, it would bite you. You should be within a few feet of it. And then Optimus and Dinobot look around, and then Optimus looks up at the top of this cliffside and sees the stasis pod hanging over the edge. And he's like, we're within a few feet of it, horizontally. Vertically is another story.
That reminds me of like mini maps in like video games.
Yeah.
When you're like hunting for something on like the little mini map HUD and you're like, what the heck? It's like right here. Oh, but it's in like an Man, Far Cry. Far Cry is like that. Oh boy, if you have OCD and you have to get all the collectibles, go play Far Cry 3.
Right. The map in Control, which is a game I love, and I believe I've talked about it on this podcast.
You have?
Control has an infuriating map. Because it's like, it will be like, oh, go to this area. And like, you'll go to you'll follow along on the map. And it's like, there's no fucking door here. And then it'll turn out that you have to go like this other, like completely roundabout way that will take you to the other side of this area. And when you clear that area, you can open the door that will connect with the original point that you started at.
Knowing that, I bet it will help me when I play.
I know that, and it still frustrates me.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So Waspinator and Terrorsaur show up.
They do. They
one
immediately
of them
something.
actually is a bug.
What? I think Terrorsaur says something creepy. I don't really remember. He says something very...
Thought you took notes, man.
I did but I couldn't take notes for the entirety of the episode. Just like the little rants and like the very interesting parts. But he says something creepy and Terrorsaur-like.
If that one listener who's like really pissed off at us like every single episode with the script for each episode in hand
on printed paper
on printed paper with like bound with brass fasteners, send us PDF scans of the scripts, and we'll do better at remembering the dialogue verbatim.
Yeah, send us the scripts.
So
for
Waspinator.
every single episode.
So,
Yeah, they show up.
So they
I think,
they show up. They say some bullshit, and they transform. and
and
start.
at this point, I think it's like Dinobot or Optimus are like, "Oh, it's an ambush, or we were set up."
In some foreshadowing, Dinobot says, "We are betrayed." So
what he says.
already Dinobot is suspecting shenanigans.
Yeah.
So he's like, "We are betrayed," and then Optimus is like, "Maximize," and they both transform. And then Scorponok shows up.
Oh yeah, he's just there on the side.
Dinobot gets shot in the shoulder by
Yeah, you actually
Pterosaur.
see, man. The animators have fun with damaging the robots. I think they're a lot better this far in.
Yeah.
And like chunks of like Dinobot chest / shoulder are kind of off.
Yeah.
And he's like burnt.
Yeah. And so Scorponok fires a missile at the ice cliff behind them, and chunks of ice and snow start falling on them and
Yeah, it kind of buries them.
and smush them in a hilarious fashion. And if you I took notice of this. If you watch, Dinobot actually just like falls down before the snow even lands on him.
Well, he's preparing his body to take the least amount of damage.
So what you're saying
Sure.
is his body is ready?
His body is ready. Scorponok buries them in ice. Presumably ice. It acts like snow later.
Yeah.
But when they're buried, it cuts to Pterosaur.
And he's all like, the pod is my trophy.
Yeah.
And then we look over and see Waspinator already fucking off carrying it.
Yeah, he's the one like fucking off, carrying it back to base.
And then
I think Optimus like breaks out of like the ice and snow.
He does, yeah. And he takes to the air and is all like, that pod is maximal property. And he's about to shoot Waspinator, but he gets shot in the back by Pterosaur, who is all like...
Pterosaur's right behind him.
Yeah. Who is all like, which the Predacons will gladly steal.
Yep. And then, but right after Optimus breaks out and he goes into kind of like flight mode, it shows Scorponok grinning, aiming a missile at Optimus, and that's when Dinobot breaks out of like the snow and ice and shakes his head.
Oh.
And he angrily, his eyes glow, and he lasers Scorponok, and he just like nails him.
Fucking eye
Like takes him
lasers.
like right out, and I'm like, fuck, right? Didn't even have his arms out.
Literally didn't even have to lift a finger to fuck a
Exactly.
motherfucker up.
And he's like exploded, like he hit him hard. He's like not moving, and so you're like, oh, yeah, that's nice. But yep, there's still Pterosaur, and he shoots Optimus, who kind of like yells and falls to the ground beside Dinobot, and he's on fire. Like, wow,
Yeah.
the animators had fun with this.
Yeah, and like his battle damage actually looks pretty good, and so does the fire effect, especially for 1996 CGI.
I was actually impressed with the fire. I was like, wow, good job, animators. That looks like he's on fire.
So we cut back to the Maximal base. The Maximals are gathered around their little computer table thingy, and Optimus is pissed.
Yup. Oh, he pissed.
Optimus is pissed, and he mentions that this is the third straight operation in a row that's been ambushed by the Predacons. And Cheetor is all like, oh, almost like someone ratted us out, or something along those lines. And Rat Trap's just like, hey!
Yeah, he turns around and he kind of like comically like puts up his hands, and he's like, oh, just what does he say? A figure of speech, or?
Yeah, figuratively speaking, or something like that.
Figuratively speaking.
And then the wheels start turning in Dinobot's head, and he's all like, well, it was Rat Trap who led us into the boxed canyon.
But I mean, he led them there because that's literally where the protoform pod was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he didn't exactly like trick them and like lead them there.
But you could make the argument that he could have led them a different direction that wouldn't
So they
have
were in the canyon,
that wouldn't
maybe?
have taken them into the canyon, that would have actually taken them to the top of the cliffside where the pod actually was.
That's true. Oh, speaking, now that you said canyon, I remember the bullshit Pterosaur said. He said, oh, it looks like we got some Maximals trapped in a box. It's time to close the lid. I don't know why that just popped up into my head. And I'm like, good one? And technically, they won that battle, and they escaped with the stasis pod. So.
Oh, they definitely won. They kicked them. They kicked Optimus and Dinobot's asses in that scene.
Yeah, they should have brought more.
Yep.
Curious why they didn't.
They all really got to work on getting those eye lasers.
Right? Hey, it has shown multiple times up to this point that at will, any of the Transformers can change their symbol from Maximal, Predacon, or vice versa.
Yeah,
you give yourself eye lasers if you change your symbol to Predacon? Or is that something that you need to have already?
You have to sacrifice some other part of yourself.
Your conscience?
Your dignity?
Both.
Good thing Rat Trap lost both of those things a long time ago.
Wouldn't it be interesting if it was like episode 20, his what's it called, ace in the sleeve? Was
Ace in the hole?
Ace in the hole, thank you. I was thinking of literally cheating with an ace up your sleeve. His ace in the hole is that he has eye lasers the whole time.
I have watched Maverick many times in my life, so I get it.
Yeah, you get it.
So Rhinox and Cheetor think that Dinobot's suggestion that Rat Trap is a traitor, is bullshit. That's ridiculous. And Optimus is like, well, I'm not so sure. And Rhinox is all like, what? Taking a play from a cue from Megatron's playbook.
Yeah. What? Yeah, they're very surprised that Optimus is suspecting Rat Trap.
And really, so am I, because it's like, if anyone's gonna be a traitor, Rat Trap, really? I get Rat Trap, turning his back on the Maximals, but I don't see him doing it to join the Predacons.
No, exactly. I could see him pulling a Tigatron and fucking off.
Man, fuck you guys.
I'm going to eat some garbage.
I'm going back to Jersey.
To Robot Jersey.
So Optimus tells Rat Trap that he wants to have a word with him in private.
In private, yeah, but don't they just kind of walk to the other side of the room?
No, it just cuts away to a.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't show us the private conversation.
Yeah, so it cuts to the Predacon base, and we see a DNA sequencer launch into the air and send out a purple wave scanning life forms. It ends up scanning a Black Widow spider.
Megatron says something about hurry up and search for life.
Yeah, and Tarantulas is basically all like, "Oh, the new."
He says, "I have it written down."
Okay.
Here. He says, "Lovely." Weird word for him. Lovely. Scanning, replication, and programming are complete. The new Predacon form is everything we could desire. Meet Blackarachnia. Yeah, he says the new Predacon form is everything we could desire in the creepiest fucking way.
Yeah, actually, he makes another comment directly to Black. I'll talk about it more when we get there, but I love her reaction to it.
Oh yeah, he's a creepy dude.
He is.
My partner watched this with me, and she was like, "Did Tarantulas just try to make himself a girlfriend?" And
yeah.
I'm like, "It's weird science style." Yeah, he's creepy.
That's basically what he did. Yeah, he basically turned this protoform into something bonerific for himself.
Yeah,
which is kind of
Megatron immediately calls him on that.
Yeah, he's all like,
so,
"Oh, I suggest you."
Before that, it kind of shows Blackarachnia come out.
Oh yeah,
and she goes, "Blackarachnia, terrorize!" And she's got a gravelly, feminine voice.
I've always hated the way, and she does it several times throughout the show. I've always hated the way she says Blackarachnia terrorize, and I still hate it.
Oh, I'm fine with it. Is it too sexy for you?
No, it's just she kind of almost squeals at the beginning of saying the word terrorize. She's like, Blackarachnia, terrorize.
Terrorize. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I doesn't do it for you. Does it for some other people. And Tarantulas. Oh, But after she's in the background and she's like stretching and like doing karate or like tai chi, kind of like getting used to her like Predacon form, and Tarantula says, "Oh, be still, my spinnerets."
I would like to point out that watching this episode when I was 11 years old, this was one of the first times I ever noticed boobs on a character.
I think this is the first time that many young boys noticed boobs. Because let's talk about her form real quick. She's gold and black, okay?
Yep.
And it's not like she has like an area where her chest is like bigger and it's still robot-like. She has straight up chromatic golden individual breasts.
Yep.
Naked robot, just right fucking there, pointy on the nipple end and like fucking everything. And I think they have a very hard to see or web decal going off of them or something like that.
It's not web, it's spider legs.
Oh, is that what it is?
I'm actually looking at a picture of her right now.
And I'm like, man, this was a lot of people's first FAP.
I mean, you're probably not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're like, it was mine, damn it.
I think I speak for everyone when I say this is a lot of young, probably some girls too, but a lot of young boys realizing that they liked boobs.
Hey, like I said.
And yep, she's and she's there. And Tarantula says, "Oh, be still, my spinnerets." Whatever the fuck that means, which is kind of creepier than saying.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You're supposed to go. I think that's more gross when you're an adult. You go and watch this because when you're a kid, you're like, haha, spinnerets is where the spiders like shoot their web from. And when you're an adult, you're like, spinnerets are where spiders shoot their web from. Ew.
Yeah.
You just said, "Oh, how she tickles my balls."
I think it's also too that we're watching this show in 2020, not just as adults, but we're watching this show in 2020, and like as a society in general, we've come to realize that like making comments like that to women not really appropriate.
Was that supposed to be like for kids? You're gonna think, "Oh, be still, my beating heart."
Yeah.
But like as an adult, you're like, spinnerets shoot web. Like basically, he's got a huge. Anyways, his weird science.
He's basically saying, "Oh man, I have such a boner."
Yeah. And his weird science creation. So he made himself a hot girlfriend. Congratulations. And Megatron immediately is like, Tarantulas, I suspect an ulterior motive behind your beast form selection. However, I'm sure that Miss Arachnia shall make an excellent Predacon. Yes. Thank you, Maximals, for the protoform gift.
Haha.
You do a better Megatron, but it's interesting that he immediately calls Tarantulas out.
Yeah.
But then he's like, but I'm sure, I think he says Miss Arachnia. I actually rewound like 3 times.
He does say Miss Arachnia, yeah.
Does he say? Yeah, I'm sure that Miss Arachnia shall make an excellent Predacon. Yes.
I watched this episode twice. I watched it a couple days ago, and I watched it just a few hours ago now, so.
Yeah, I watched it twice, but the first time, I remember my partner walking into the room and being like, are you watching this again? And I'm like, no. And she was like, oh, well, you were taking notes like an hour ago. And I'm like, I'm still taking notes. So I rewound all the interesting parts to make sure I got it like verbatim, because like you had said earlier, this is your favorite episode. This is based on my note taking, definitely one of my favorites too. And what I like about the show so far,
I think it's my favorite thus far.
Thus far, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And what's interesting about that too is like I think back on like what my favorite episodes were from the first season when I was a kid, and they're not really the episodes that I have ended up really liking watching this now as an adult. They're not the same episodes.
I don't remember enough of it because I didn't watch it episode to episode to have my like favorites, but I do remember liking Cheetor and Tigatron, but that was me liking like Rambunctious, also me liking cats apparently. me liking the rambunctious types of characters that young boys tend to seem to like.
Yeah. And as I've mentioned, I really liked Megatron and Dinobot. And I still really like Megatron and Dinobot. Although I actually really like Optimus now. Like, I used to find him kind of milquetoast. I used to find him kind of milquetoast when I was a kid. I didn't know that term back then. But
You just used milk toast in a sentence.
Yes,
Aren't
yes,
you
I
fancy
did.
as fuck? I know what you mean. Yeah, he's kind of like, I am default leader. But again, especially with this episode, actually, he's fucking clever. And he's smart, and I like him way more now that we're rewatching it.
So we're back at the
Maximals, right?
Yeah, we're back at the Maximal base. Optimus and Rat Trap are arguing, and Rat Trap is all like, "Get scrapped, Optimus! You think I'm working for the Preds?"
And he kind of like pushes him a little.
Yeah.
Or like kind of like, schoolyard, kind of not serious, but still fronting, kind of like pushes him away from him.
Yeah. So Optimus is like, Rat Trap's loyalty has been called into question, so we're gonna send him out into the field to look for Energon in Sector 12, I think it was.
Yeah, Sector 12, and like Cheetor's eyes light up, and he's like, "What? Sector 12?"
The lava pit. The lava pit is just like one big Energon storm.
It's one big Energon storm, and then one of them, Rhinox or Cheetor, is like,
I think
and
it's
that's
Rhinox.
It's right next to the Predacon base.
Yeah, Rhinox mentions that it's within weapons range of the Predacon ship.
Oh, weapons range. That's right.
Yeah.
Which means
It's a death
wait,
sentence.
hold up.
Cheetor says that it's a death sentence.
Yeah, hold up. Weapons range. Does the dark side, the Predacon ship, have automated weapons?
Well, presumably, yeah.
Why didn't they use it when the? Anyways, I guess we'll get to that. Yeah, that's a good
Oh,
point.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a little bit of a plot hole.
Maybe they're not automated. Maybe you need to man them.
Maybe.
Like they're longer range because it's a spacecraft, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they can hit something like, half a kilometer to 2 kilometers away, but everything really up close, it's kind of can't target small close proximity targets. But anyways, instead of hypothesizing about the Predacon weapons range, Optimus decides to send Rat Trap on this like weird mission to the lava pits, Sector 12.
Yeah, and when Cheetor is all like, it's a death sentence, Optimus is like, think of it as a test of loyalty.
And then Rat Trap is like, whatever, I'm gonna blow this taco stand. I can't actually think of what he said, but he transforms into his beast mode.
Yeah, he says something along the lines of like, "Oh, thanks a lot, comrades," or something like that.
Yeah, and then transforms into his beast mode and kind of like just wanders off, or presumably to go do the mission.
So we jump ahead to him in Sector 12.
The black and red lava pits right outside the Predacon base.
He's in beast form, hobbling around, and he radios in to the Maximal ship.
He does. Come on, writers. He radios in to the Maximal base, but Sector 12 is crawling with radiation, like Cheetor said earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So there's two problems with this. One is the show has established when there's large amounts of energon, you can't use your communication devices.
Yeah.
Two, the range is far outside their like standard communication range. And he's breaking both of those rules, and he's radioing base from this distance and around this much energon.
Bravo.
So I feel like
I did not even think about that when I was watching.
That is my I don't want to be that guy, but that is my that guy moment of this episode, is that he should not have been able to maybe if they were close, if they were they could use proximity radios, but he shouldn't be able to radio back to base, and it has established multiple times throughout multiple episodes that this should be impossible.
Yeah, in several episodes.
So I'm just saying I don't know, maybe different writers for different episodes, I don't know what's going on, but the whole point of Cheetor setting up those relays was so that they could have long range communications, and that failed. Those were all destroyed.
Yeah, and Rhinox also built that
armband?
that armband thing, the iPod Nano,
which was destroyed
by Cheetor.
And Optimus said Rhinox spent a month working on that, and the materials can't be replicated.
Yeah, they didn't have the components to make another one. So, one, Cheetor fucks everything up, and two, Rat Trap should not be radioing the Maximal Base from the Sector 12 Predacon.
That's my
area.
journalist moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Now you are a legitimate journalism.
I am. That's my one. Everybody gets one. That's my one detail that I noticed.
So, do you remember what Rat Trap said when he radioed Optimus?
He says, there's nothing out here, but man, that guy with the script in front of him is like red-faced. They claim to be the eminent Beast Wars podcast, but they don't know nothing. He says there's nothing out here
we are
except,
only
like, rocks and energon or something.
We are one of only 2 Beast Wars podcasts in existence. So
I didn't even know there was another one, but of
there
course
was.
there is.
I didn't know until after we started this podcast, but I looked it up, and it's like, yes, there is literally one other. There is one other. It is not currently going.
Oh, so we don't have any competition unless theirs is much better.
I'm sure it probably is. But we have a couple of 5-star ratings on iTunes, and they don't have any star ratings on iTunes. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, called out.
So, I'm
Take
sure
that, other podcast.
I'm sure they are lovely people. I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to plug them.
Well, there you go. So, if Guy with Script is listening, if you could send us those PDFs, that would make our job easier, because oddly enough, there's just fragments of the scripts on the show, like here or there at any given random website, which is full of spyware.
So, whatever Rat Trap says in this communique, we cut over to the Predacon base and see that Megatron and Pterosaur are intercepting this communication somehow.
They're on one of those little computers that like hang from the ceiling, and they're listening.
So-
and they say something about code breaking?
Yes. Megatron makes mention of like the maximal code breaker or something like that. So he sends Pterosaur off to deal with Rat Trap. So Pterosaur transforms and flies away, and immediately goes to intercept Rat Trap. And in beast form, he does this weird like kamikaze dive, like right into Rat Trap.
Or is it a calculated air to ground strike? Much like a pterodactyl would do in real life, or a bird would do in real life.
Well, wouldn't birds or pterodactyls... I mean, who knows what a pterodactyl would really do? They're an extinct species.
Assuming they're like birds, that's how they attack vermin, right? They swoop in from behind them and catch them unawares, which is what Pterosaur does here.
But don't birds usually pick them up and carry them?
Well, yes, but Rat Trap is a particularly large vermin.
So he dive bombs Rat Trap, knocks Rat Trap
He just knocks
over.
him over, yeah.
Yeah, he just knocks him over. And Rat Trap's all like, Rat Trap maximize. One of the rare occasions where Rat Trap actually uses his activation code.
Yeah, Pterosaur terrorizes first, and again, Guy with Script is angry, but he says some bullshit to Rat Trap, and while he's being fired upon, Pterosaur terrorizes first, because he says some bullshit to Rat Trap, and then he starts shooting him. And what I was saying is how nice it is for them to miss and let the other side often transform, regardless of who's shooting at who. They always seem to have time to say, like, Rat Trap, maximize! And they're like energy blasts, like, going left and right of him.
Yeah. It's just so courteous, you know?
Which is funny, because there's a part in this episode where the first time ever where they break that code. And I'll mention it when we get there, but it's the first time ever where someone's interrupted transforming that happens later in the show, and I was
Oh,
really intrigued
yeah.
by it.
Yeah, that actually cracked me up when it happened. It's a very funny moment.
It is, yeah. Pterosaur,
It's a very fuck you moment.
yeah, and it surprises me because it breaks that whole, like, roll call where they allow each other to transform and duke it out.
Yeah.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Pterosaur, he's got pink eye lasers. And let me
Yep.
tell you, he shoots at the ground where Rat Trap is, and it slowly goes upwards, very slowly. Like, I've seen Rat Trap dodge much faster moving things. And when it reaches Rat Trap's feet, he's not sure how to react. The eye lasers explode at his feet and send Rat Trap flying.
Yes, and then so
Yeah.
Pterosaur.
And then he eye lasers. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this weird like stone arc.
Yeah, kind of like an arc in the lava pits.
Yeah, above Rat Trap. And so Pterosaur eye lasers one side of it, which breaks it, and so it comes tumbling down. And it's
I'm telling you, eye lasers are the
eye lasers are
key tool that we need.
eye lasers are the ultimate trump card in the Beast Wars.
They can do everything.
Yeah, so it comes tumbling down, is about to fall on Rat Trap. Rat Trap sees this and action rolls out of the way.
Yep.
It's not an action roll. It's more like Old Snake in Metal Gear Solid 4. Actually, in the episode Fallen Comrades, it's the exact same thing that Dinobot does. Yeah.
Side to side roll.
So just doing basically a stop, drop, and roll.
Yep.
Type thing.
And he gets out of the way just in time.
Just in time. Pterosaur lands and puts his gun to Rat Trap's face.
Yeah, during the roll or the crash of the rock as it almost hit him, Rat Trap must have dropped his gun because it's like right beside him on the ground. But yeah, Pterosaur's got him. He's like point blank, like pointing a gun at him.
Yeah, so Pterosaur has a gun to him and says some bullshit, and he's all like prepare for to be destroyed or something like that.
Yeah, prepare for termination or something.
Which I'm like, how do you really prepare for something like that, especially on such short notice? It's
Clench your butt.
It's like, man, like I don't even have time to like call anyone or make any kind of arrangements or.
Hey, do you mind if I do some prayers and make a few phone calls?
Yeah, just want to make sure that they got my coffin right, you know.
Yeah, I want it to be to be filled with garbage.
I wanted one made out of transparent aluminum, but I just wanted to make sure that's what they go with.
Fill it with garbage, just to the brim.
Rat Trap, instead of like pleading to make funeral arrangements before his untimely demise, Rat Trap actually says, "Wait, I beg for mercy." We cut back to the Maximal ship, and the Maximals are listening to this conversation.
Yeah, Rhinox earlier had said something like, "He's been captured, and his comm link is still on."
Yeah. So when Rat Trap is like, "Wait, I beg for mercy," Rhinox again is like, "What?"
Yeah, he's like, "What? How dare you die honorably? Damn it! How dare you weasel your way?"
See,
out of
that's
death.
what I was thinking in this when I was watching this earlier. I'm like, "What is he like?" Someone has a gun to your face.
Hey, you want your dick sucked? You want your laundry done? What can we work something out here?
It's like, yeah, someone has like a gun to your face, and it's like, I beg for like, of course you're gonna be like, "Hey, don't shoot. What do you need from me? I don't want to get shot." Like, why would anyone be surprised that someone
That's why
pleads for their
Rhinox's
life?
response was like, "Oh no, how dare he!" Like that's an act of being a traitor in of itself.
Yeah,
begging not to die,
just not wanting to die.
How dare you? That's a very Dinobot like moment of Rhinox. He's
how dare you, good sir?
He's like insulted that that Rat Trap would beg for his life.
And then so Pterosaur is like, "Mercy?"
Yeah, he's like, "Mercy." See? On what terms?
Yeah, something along those lines. And Rat Trap says some negotiation type bullshit. I don't remember exactly what he said word for word.
But yeah, it kind of cuts to the Maximals, and they're all like, "Oh, no way!" And Pterosaur says,
Okay, so Pterosaur said what he says here. I remember because I thought it was hilarious. He was like, "All right, I accept in exchange for special considerations." Which
special considerations.
Yeah, which kind of made me laugh because I'm like, so does he want his dick sucked?
I mean, no one wants to suck his dick.
So we cut back to the Maximal ship again, and through the comm, Rat Trap is like, "Yeah, all right.
I'll do whatever you want.
I'll do whatever you say. I'll even become a Predacon."
I'll even become a Predacon. And that's when, like, the music kind of, like, shifts, and all the Maximals are like,
Yeah, they're all like gasp.
yeah. They say a bunch of stuff, but the verbatim isn't important. Dinobot is like, see?
He's a
And
traitor.
Cheetor's like, yeah, and Cheetor's like, no way! And he's like, Dinobot's like, do you doubt your ears? Or something like that.
Yeah, and Dinobot is just like, now do you see that Rat Trap is nothing more than a filthy traitor or something like that? And Rhinox is like, that's rich coming from you.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, and also they're kind of like defensive and kind of like upset. Interesting that they don't go, oh, well, he's just playing Pterosaur.
Yeah.
They're all just like taking it like word for word as if like Rat Trap's comm is accidentally left on.
Well, I mean, at this point, like they really don't know, right?
No.
So
No. What?
No.
Commercial break? No. What is there a commercial break and then let's see.
Oh, this is the point where where Rat Trap actually like he just taps his Maximal logo on his forearm and it turns into a Predacon logo.
And the music is kind of like no. Like kind of like the depressing, like sad music.
Yeah, and so Rat Trap goes back to beast form, and then Pterosaur is like laughing hysterically.
Yeah, like it zooms in on his face, and he's laughing hysterically, and then it zooms in on beast mode Rat Trap's face, and he's just kind of like begrudgingly like turning his head and glaring.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome back from commercial break.
Cheers.
Ray tracing. This is a cool
ray tracing. Cheers. Such a tactical advantage will win the console wars once and for all.
It actually sounds like something you would actually say. Whatever this ray tracing is, yes. Perhaps it'll help us win the console wars.
We Predacons must secure it for ourselves, so that the Maximals may not acquire it. No.
Somebody has watched a lot of Beast Wars.
And
when you could write your own Beast Wars episode off the top of your head. Oh, this is a cool shot. We come back from commercial break.
This is my favorite scene in the entire episode.
And
and I think you probably know why.
Yes, I do know why. The cinematography, I rewound it many times to get it word for word, but not only that, take a look at the camera work. And it starts, so the main kind of computer room, auditorium, the main control room, yeah, let's say that is in the dark side. That's what we've kind of like nicknamed the ship for the Predacons, and the internet has as well. It zooms in from a distance, and it shows Tarantulas hanging by like a spider thread. It shows Scorponok like clacking his claws like down on like some platform, and this zoom in kind of shows that all of the Predacons are here in their beast modes, and Pterosaur is on a terror board,
Yep.
which later Megatron calls a platform.
Yes.
He just calls it a platform, which is boring, so I'm going to call it terror board. And it's
Oh,
slowly rising.
Their official name is Terror Board now.
Yeah, we so saith us. And it's slowly rising, and behind him there's a cage on a chain that's also slowly rising. It's very dramatic, and the camera comes in onto the camera zooms in slowly, and it comes onto Pterosaur's body
In beast form.
and in beast form, and he has his wings kind of closed, and he opens one kind of wing as if to like very regally, like royalty, kind of like gazing upon his fucking vassals. And like a Skeksis from the Dark Crystal, like gazing upon his kingdom. He is so much like a Skeksis, like this fucking guy, but I also love him in this. And then he closes his wings, and then he opens them both to let the Predacons bask in his greatness, right? But he's also covering Rat Trap's like cage.
Yeah,
as if to reveal him.
Yeah, he raises his left wing to cover the cage, and then pulls it down to reveal that Rat Trap is in the cage.
Oh, and as it's zooming in, they're all making like animal noises, and Megatron is making a sound just ambiently. That's just his like background sound. I liked that part. And Pterosaur, being proud as fuck, stands like a regal fucking Skeksis, and then he dramatically. No, he doesn't. He doesn't reveal him yet. He says, "Hear me, Predacons. I present you with that which will tip." For some reason, he says "tip" very high pitched. "Tip the balance of power against the Maximals. I present my Lieutenant Rat Trap." And he dramatically moves his wing.
And then Rat Trap waves in his beast form.
He's in his beast form, and he's holding, like, he's in a little cage, and he has his little rat paws like wrapped around the bars. But when Pterosaur presents him, he waves like very cheerfully, like jazz hands.
Yeah.
Then Pterosaur, go ahead. Yeah.
So you mentioned to me earlier on Facebook Messenger that you had Pterosaur's entire speech written down. Yes.
I do.
Okay, so take it away, and I will interject with.
Of course, yeah.
I will interject with how Rat Trap behaves in this scene, because like it is my favorite, one of my favorite moments in this entire series.
For anyone watching along with us, go and rewatch just this scene, because I missed Rat Trap's little movements the first time.
Really?
Like 20 times apparently. It was only the last time that my partner pointed out his little gestures. But yeah, he says, "With the added power of Blackarachnia, who was retrieved by my skill, and Rat Trap."
And Rat Trap is like points over to Pterosaur while he's saying this, and then gives a thumbs up.
He gives like a little. Does he salute at one point?
He does. We'll get there.
Okay. And he says, what was he saying? Oh, and Rat Trap, who has sworn personal fealty to me.
This is where Rat Trap salutes.
And he gives a little salute. He's just quiet the whole time.
Yeah.
"We shall defeat the Maximals, but my gifts to you do not come free." Oh, sorry. He rolls his R. He's like, "Do not come free." I'm exaggerating, but he does roll his R there, which I found funny.
And Rat Trap does a finger wag.
Yeah, he does like a finger wag and like shakes his head. "In return, I shall become your leader." And Megatron is right there, like he's right beside him.
Yeah.
And this is where I need your help. He says, "You sniveling." Does he say tawny? Tony? What's the word he uses? "You sniveling tawny," or Tony. And I'm like, what is that?
I don't
"You sniveling
remember.
tawny." And I Googled it, and tawny is like a color that's like brownish orange or something like that. So he says like, "You sniveling tawny," and I'm not quite sure what he says there. So if anybody listening can inform me of a word I've never heard before, that would be great.
Guy with script in hand, please.
Guy
help
with
us
script
out.
in hand, this is your time to shine.
So yeah,
This Maximal isn't your lieutenant. No, he must be a spy.
cheers.
Yes. And when he says yes, his T-Rex claws like excitedly wiggle. And that makes me wonder, does he always do that? Or have I missed like lots of episodes with him like clickety clacking his little T-Rex hands
Oh no,
as he talks?
Oh no, he does that.
Interesting. I haven't really noticed him doing that until now. And I was like, have I been missing like quality T-Rex like wiggle hands?
As he is saying this, as he is chastising Pterosaur for his choice in lieutenants, we see the cage that Rat Trap was in open up, and Rat Trap just swings the door open, holding on to it, and then stabs this like electro poker thingy, like a cattle prod type thing.
He
into
very
Megatron.
hilariously swings the cage open as Megatron's talking,
Yeah.
like very casually, and like playfully just kind of like drops, and he falls out of frame. And then, as he's saying, he can't be trusted, right? As he's like saying that, all of a sudden, Megatron like glows yellow and like energonically, and he falls to the ground.
Energonically.
You heard it here first, folks. Energonically. And he falls to the ground kind of like moaning and like twitching. And that's when the shot shows Rat Trap holding like a weird, like homemade, like you said, like cattle prod? Taser?
Yeah, something like that.
And man, this whole scene is great. This is the best scene.
So Megatron falls down. Rat Trap says some shit about like turning your back.
Shut your big mouth. Yeah, should have watched your back, big mouth. Oh, and Pterosaur says, that also prevents you from changing from your beast mode.
Yeah. Transformation has also been disabled, and he orders him like taken to the brig.
Well, he says to the others, he turns to the others who are all in the other Predacons.
Oh yeah,
who are
he's
all in their beast.
he's like Megatron is obsolete.
Yes.
Therefore I am your new leader.
Yeah, therefore. And it's like, well, hold up. And immediately Scorponok is like, no, Scorponok, no like. Scorponok, loyal to Megatron. Megatron is our true leader. He actually does not sound that bad, as anybody watching this would know, but I can't help it. He actually sounds a little bit better and less dumb in this episode, believe it or not.
Scorponok will not follow Megatron. Or no, Scorponok will not follow Pterosaur. Scorponok loyal to Megatron.
Megatron, true leader!
And Blackarachnia looks over and is like, then you are an even bigger fool than you look. And
yeah, which is like the first line other than Blackarachnia terrorize that she's delivered.
Yeah, and Tarantulas is like, direct as well as lovely. And then...
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
This is the part I was talking about. And so Blackarachnia just like closes her eyes and is all like, ugh.
Yeah, kind of like makes a sound as if in disgust and like rolls or closes her like spider eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't get a good look. I think she only got 7 eyes. Maybe I'll have to check it out later.
7
And I'm like, wait a second. Tarantulas is 9, and Blackarachnia has 7. I was told spiders have 8. But again, I don't know anything about arachnids, so.
Those non-arachnid scorpions.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there. I don't know. Is a vinegroon an arachnid? I'm sure it is.
I don't even know what that is.
It's those yellowish white desert tarantulas that like instead of a stinger, they just have a really pointy tail, and they like spray an acidic type of thing, and like
Oh,
predators
God.
that are trying to eat them eyes. Just like loosely, like they whip their tail forward, and like a type of like mild acid
Oh
comes
God,
out.
that
It's
is
to help them get away from.
that is nightmare fuel, good sir.
It helps them get away from like coyotes and other shit trying to eat them. It's nightmare fuel. You know what? They're actually pretty horrific looking. Go look it up on Google after this. They look scarier than I'm depicting.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Actually, what are they
Yeah.
called?
I think it's vinegroon scorpion or something like that.
How do you spell that?
Like vinegar, but vinegroon. They're cool looking. They're nocturnal. I think all scorpions are, but I might be wrong.
Vinegaroon.
Vinegaroon.
Oh, ugh.
Pretty gross looking, right? Oh no, yeah, they're dark. They're not light colored. I was confusing them with a camel.
Oh, the camel spider.
Yes,
Ugh.
I accidentally mixed them up too. But isn't that? But anyone listening, go look up a vinegaroon. They are nasty looking.
So
And
are
they
camel spider. Oh, good God. I'm arachnophobic. For the listeners, just
Oh, he's like, yeah, camel spiders are the whitish, like yellow ones that come out at night. Yeah, but vinegaroons, like I said, I've been wrong about before, but like, if that thing's an arachnid, that won the evolution wars. That is beastly fucking looking like creature. It's got like awesome, like spiked, like scorpion claws and a huge ass, like
man,
weird, like tail to spit
man,
acid in people's eyes.
man. The evolution wars sounds like something from like a 1960s like dystopian sci-fi novel.
That's very specific. Yeah, it does though.
But yeah, and like the evolution wars that happened in like that were supposed to happen in like the 1980s.
The evolution wars that happened in the 80s.
Yeah, it's like this book.
But some neuromancer shit. Yeah.
It's like this book, this like dystopian sci-fi book that was published in like 1968. That's set in like 2004. Talks about the evolution wars of
Future
1989.
2004. As they reminisce about the evolution wars.
Yeah, the evolution war of 1989.
Evolution War. Speaking of evolution wars and novels, Oryx and Crake. Really interesting end of the world scenario with where corporations have free reign over creating life, like genetic, just manipulating thing. Like they're called pigoons, and pigoons are just full of organs. They've got like 2 brains and like 3 hearts and like, and here's the thing, they're almost identical to humans. So these pigoons, I think that's what they're called, I might be wrong, they kill them and they use them for human organ transplant.
Yeah,
and that actually solves the waiting list, and they're just fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I could see that. Like they're that is an ethical minefield, but
Yeah. Yeah, and be like, oh, well, you can be on like a 4-year waiting list for a human heart, but this like human pig heart can be available right now, and it's way cheaper, and it's proven healthy. Chicky nubs. Don't Google chicky nubs. You don't want to know what it is.
no.
It's just delicious. That's all I can say. So the evolution wars, which the Maximals won.
Which the Autobots won. That eventually led to the creation of the Maximals, who are on this planet along with the Predacons. And we are in the Predacon ship, and Megatron has just been taken out. And Pterosaur is all like, I'm your leader. And
Yes, sir.
no one wants to follow him.
No, but he kind of says he kind of like demands it, and everybody else is just kind of like they don't want to make a move. And then I think it's Tarantulas. Maybe I'm wrong. That kind of says,
Tarantulas.
"Well, let's discuss this." Go ahead.
Yeah, Tarantulas is like, let's discuss this in private. Not in front of the Maximal. He even says it in that manner.
Does he kind of like turn like a little like mouth part to the side and go, not in front of the Maximal?
Yeah, that's exactly what he does.
Wow.
So
And Pterosaur says, very well, take Megatron and the Maximal to
my
the lower...
my lieutenant.
Oh, sorry, yes, my lieutenant and Megatron to the lower dungeons or the lower pits?
The lower brig, something like that.
The lower brig, something like that, yeah. And that's when Rat Trap, kind of like defeated, shrugs his shoulders and he kind of just tosses his little like makeshift taser aside.
Yeah.
Oh, it cuts to them straight in their cages, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the two cages are lowered down. One has Rat Trap in it, one has Megatron. And Megatron is all like...
Oh, there's lava underneath them.
Yeah, there's lava underneath them. Megatron is all like, a betrayed leader and a maximal traitor. Yes, we are quite the pair, aren't we?
Yeah. And Rat Trap kind of like smirks momentarily at that.
Yeah.
And then he says...
And Megatron is all like, I will decide your fate later, after I deal with Pterosaur. And then he says something along the lines of, like, computer voice activate Megatron.
Yeah, he says, computer voice activate. And then it kind of like a seductive female voice pops up. And it says, voice recognition, Megatron.
And then he's like, open cell, summon platform.
Yeah, he's like, open cage, summon platform. And
so a terror board shows up.
Yeah, apparently the AI can move the terror boards like on its own, which is like freaky and kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me.
Also, he's the only... Of course, Megatron is the only one who can like activate like the computer AI.
Yeah,
like it's like voice locked to him. So I'm like, well, of course, jeez.
And as he steps out of the cage onto the terror board, he's all like, "The wise tyrant always ensures that his prison is designed for his own personal escape. Yes." Or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but...
Yeah, he says, like, oh, the wise tyrant always makes sure that his prison he's ready to escape from his prison. Yes, or something like that. Yeah. And without grabbing, like, like a control handle, it does seem like a lot kind of like those... a lot like those gyro boards that everyone calls hoverboards. He kind of just sways his weight, and the terror board like hovers off and disappears into like the darkness.
But see,
he doesn't even need a handle.
He reaches his T-Rex hand over to the handle, but he doesn't actually grab it, which I find kind of funny.
You can kind of control it with your weight, I guess, or the AI was.
No, I think that just might be a technical or a error in the animation.
They didn't know how to make him reach for the little handle, and
yeah,
they just said, "Fuck it, no, kids won't notice."
Yeah, they just couldn't make they just couldn't make the animation work with the character model actually grabbing it, so they're just like, whatever, close enough.
Close enough. And this is when, after Megatron disappears into the darkness, this is when Rat Trap says, and the wise Maximal Trader always makes sure he's carrying a handy infiltration kit.
Yeah.
And then, much like Cheetor in a previous episode, he stealth maximizes.
Yeah.
He says, Rat Trap, maximize! Like, very softly. And it's a slower transformation, but it's much more quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, who's listening?
So he transforms and then taps one of his like little forearm thingies.
Oh,
which
I almost
up.
missed this. I almost missed this, even though I'd watched this. I rewound many times. he waves his hand over his wrist before it opens up, and he changes the little symbol that he had on his wrist from a Predacon symbol back to a Maximal symbol.
Right. He changes it back. Yeah.
Yeah, and then his wrist opens up, and he's got like different little multi-tools inside, and he just takes one out, and yeah, slips it into like the card reader or whatever.
See,
and
to me, it just looks like 4 pencils.
it's legit. It's just 4 different like little like pencil shaped / just generic like long skinny like rectangular kind of shaped metal objects.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's some sort of like rogue like lockpick transformer lockpick set with like different like resonant energy signatures for him to pick locks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's say that's
We'll
what
go.
he does.
We'll go with that. So Rat Trap opens the cage up and he's looking around and he sees that.
Oh my god. This part. Yeah. Oh, he cocks his pistol, his energy pistol, like a shotgun, and he's holding it with both hands, as if like a xenomorph is in like these tunnels. Oh, sorry, I jumped way ahead. He needs to escape the lava.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. So he looks down and sees that there's lava, and he looks up and sees that there's, well, nothing.
Yeah, it's darkness.
Yeah, just darkness. So what he decides to do, so he looks around and then sees that there is
like a service tunnel or ventilation.
Yeah, that
tunnel?
For whatever reason has bars on it.
It has bars, but they're not spaced close enough to keep someone from passing through them.
Yeah, it's just like, what is this entryway actually designed for? Is what I'm kind of wondering in this season.
Because it actually shows him just pass through the bars. And part of me is like, is that little service tunnel, like for instance, Megatron can't fit through that. Dinobot couldn't. Maybe? But,
no, Dinobot's way too big.
Rat Trap, is it kind of just like, oh, only Rat Trap would have been small enough to fit through this? Is that kind of like a... Because later it shows Tarantulas by the bars, and there is no way he's fitting through it.
Yeah.
But so I think this is kind of like like Rat Trap is perfect to kind of like sneak around because he's so small and clever.
But I also just wonder what the point of this...
the actual like canon point? I have no idea. When they flood it full of energon liquid, it traps people in there. Because when he's inside, it's very spacious.
Yeah.
No, the bars are there. It's so when people break out of their cages, they can't jump into the service tunnel.
Which is exactly what Rat Trap does. So I'm sensing a pretty serious design flaw here.
I guess they didn't expect Transformers to be as small as Rat Trap, which, that being said, yes, he is noticeably smaller than the big ones, but only slightly shorter than the medium-sized or small ones. He's still short compared to Pterosaur and Cheetor. Yeah, I guess he's a whole size level like different.
He's
like
tiny.
Nobody else could fit through them. Maybe Cheetor could. Why am I talking about? No, Dinobot in its raptor form could, because when he transforms, he's way bigger than his raptor form would have you believe.
Yeah, that's the thing with Transformers that's been going back to the that's been common going back all the way to the original series, is like the whole mass shifting thing. Like look at Megatron, the original Megatron.
You were gonna say Soundwave.
I was gonna say Soundwave.
Yeah,
but even
and
more,
I know what you mean.
Even more so than Soundwave, the original Megatron. He was. Are
you saying Megatron can't be a gun?
He is bigger than most of the other Decepticons, but then he transforms into a gun that Starscream can just hold and shoot.
I knew what you were saying. That's why I asked you in a very serious manner. Like, he's not even kidding. For anybody that's unfamiliar with Transformers, he transforms into like a gun, like a Luger, like a pistol.
Yeah.
And Starscream just like picks like gun Megatron up, and it becomes the golden gun. Like it's just this very lethal like Megatron pistol.
like one-shot kill, basically.
Yeah, we've all played GoldenEye 64. It's the golden gun. Yeah, so like you were saying, the mass difference between some of them is like Optimus. Optimus is about almost perfectly the same size in both his maximal form and his robot form.
Yeah.
Dinobot turns huge in his raptor form. He's an okay size, but he's like gigantic when he changes into his robot form.
When he transforms, he gets fucking jacked.
He gets jacked. He's huge. Megatron, what do you think? Same size? Beast Wars Megatron, not turns into a fucking gun. Megatron.
None of that G1 bullshit. Oh man, I just pissed off so many people by saying that.
Quick, edit it out. Abort. No. You have to take the, especially
it's fine. No one who watched G1 is listening to this anyway.
Yeah, good point. Anyways, and even if they were like diehard fans and they're currently like writing fan fiction for it, they probably would shrug and they go, "Yeah." You have to take children's cartoons with some humor, some level of like, "Yeah, I understand it's magic."
No, see, I feel like I feel like they would be all like, well, actually, it was explained in this ancillary material on one of the backer cards written by Len Wein that due to the energon fields, like there would be this mass shifting that I don't know. I can't even do it, but.
The Mass Effect, you were doing pretty good. I actually thought you did read something along those lines. I was like, you were like, I hate to be that guy, and I'm like, kind of sounds like you're being that guy.
No, I was just like pulling stuff out of my ass, and eventually I ran.
There's probably a reason for it.
Eventually, I ran
Mass
out
Effect
of stuff.
field, some mass distortion magic. But regardless, he Rat Trap jumps from the cage. I think physics don't work like this. I think he would have pushed the cage back and fallen into lava.
Yeah, he wouldn't have even traveled very far. He would have pushed the cage back and like maybe gone forward a couple of feet and then just dropped.
You thought so too? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second.
Is that
how physics work?
He would really only be able to actually make that jump if the cage was completely stationary.
Maybe it's very, very heavy.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's heavy, then, like, very heavy, when he pushes against it, his mass would move the cage less, and he would push himself farther. So I am going into it thinking this cage weighs 2 tons,
but
and that's why it...
But how much does Rat Trap weigh, though? I mean,
1?
Dude's made entirely of metal.
He weighs 1. I'm not going to say what unit of measurement. He just weighs 1.
He just weighs 1.
Yeah, he's one measure. He's 1 heavy. He is 1 heavy long. So he's holding onto the bars, and it looks down at his feet, dangling over the lava, as if he's going to fall in.
Yeah.
Of course he's not. He climbs up. And then I'm like, "Ooh, what's he gonna do now? He's behind the bars." He just sidesteps through the bars. Like, it's very spacious. And I'm like, "Wait, hold up. Why are those bars there?" Thus, the conversation we just had, the 10-minute conversation we had about why the bars are in this one part of the Beast Wars episode we're reviewing now. Very important. Okay, so...
I feel like we've spent way too much time on this one little bit.
Because it bugs us, damn it. Okay, so we're in the service tunnel, and like a scene from Alien, he like cocks his... I need to stop saying like so much. Note to self. It's I notice it. He cocks his gun, which I thought was a pistol, but he cocks it like a shotgun and holding it with both hands and hunching over.
I swear his gun is bigger in this scene than it has been in previous episodes.
His gun changes. Remember when I noticed that he was firing like do 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 do, like actual metallic like bullet projectiles from it, but
That
other
almost kind of
times
sounded. That almost kind of sounded like a beat there, like do 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 do, like something out of Donkey Kong Country.
maybe that he can shoot his gun to the beat of that drum, or a song from Queen. So he cocks his gun, and I didn't notice, but maybe you're right. He cocks his gun as if it were a shotgun, and clutching it to his chest and hunching over, he cautiously proceeds through these like dark like service tunnels, as if it's like a scene from Alien. He's crouching, but the service tunnel's like 10 feet tall, and it's like twice like you could fit Dinobot in these tunnels.
He's trying to be stealthy, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. That's his stealth stance. That actually makes a lot of sense. And having played my fair share of tactical espionage action games, I do know that you hunch a little bit when you're sneaking.
And I know from playing my fair share of games starring the one and only Sam Fisher that the best way to sneak around is by constantly walking in a crouching position.
Yeah, imagine the hamstring muscles. Imagine the leg muscles on Sam Fisher. Guy's like doing squats like the entire game.
Yeah, he has like just like the most like jacked legs you can imagine. They're just like massive, and the rest of him is just scrawny.
Imagine the power he would wield if he kicked his foes. But I guess having a gun makes that obsolete, so fair enough.
Well, if you've ever played Splinter Cell, like guns are pretty, for the most part, pretty useless, especially if you get spotted.
I'll have you know, I've shot at least 100 lights out with that shitty little silenced pistol of his.
Anyway.
Of course, I can't see where the broken glass is either when that happens, but what you gonna do? Yes. So, anyways, we are in a service tunnel, and
we see a Rat Trap sees a shadow of Pterosaur and Scorponok arguing, and Scorponok, I can't remember exactly what he says.
Oh, yeah, it's like shadow puppet theater. He sees like just their shadows, their silhouettes.
Yeah, and so Scorponok is basically just be like,
yeah, he says, "I will not follow you. Megatron is our true leader." And Pterosaur just replies, "Enough! I am your true leader." Or sorry,
right,
your new leader. And that's it.
Right. Yeah, because it's hilarious.
They just walk away from each other.
Because Pterosaur is like, enough! I am your new leader. And yeah, then they both just disperse.
And then he says, "Now find the Gelfling!" Rah! It's a little Dark Crystal reference for you again.
Which I have not seen.
The Netflix Dark Crystal, even if you have not seen the original movie, pretty phenomenal. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, wow.
It is great. My partner watched the movie. Yeah, like, I thoroughly enjoy it. My partner watched the movie after the series. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Either watch it first or not at all.
It's probably a similar thing to me, like watching The Shining after watching Doctor Sleep.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, like I cannot believe what they were able to accomplish. But when you have, like you had said with Doctor Sleep, when you have a way bigger budget, way more writers,
way newer.
Newer. Yeah, more money thrown into it. It's not that it's worse. Some of the voice acting isn't as great. And I'm looking at you, main character, whom I can't remember from the Dark Crystal movie. He's very boring. He talks like this, as if he's a blank template. He's very...
Milquetoast?
He's very... Yes. And then when you meet the other Gelfling in the movie... She's very interesting. Her voice actor is great, and the character itself is like really cool. So you're kind of like, can this be the main character? As soon as you meet her, you're like, oh, thank God, she's here to save the day. But anyways, this is now a Dark Crystal podcast.
I always find that kind of frustrating. in movies and TV when there's a supporting character who is way more interesting than the protagonist. Because it's like, I feel like we should just be following them instead. And the fact that we aren't following the more interesting supporting character frustrates me.
Luckily, there are multiple main characters in the Dark Crystal series on Netflix, and they're all cool, in my opinion. Like, I actually like them all. So that's the thing. Go watch Dark Crystal, people. I'd be curious your take on it, because it's a very cool world. Like, it'd be cool to set like a tabletop RPG in the Dark Crystal world. But I'm surprised
that doesn't exist, honestly.
It probably does, actually.
I'm sure it does. There's a tabletop RPG for everything.
I have the Dark Crystal manga, so it would not surprise me that there is a tabletop role-playing game.
You do a much better Poindexter voice than I do.
Oh, I was doing a voice?
The way you said that, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, okay. Derp.
I really like my actually guy. In person, I even pretend to like push my glasses up my nose when I do my that guy impression, the Poindexter.
Yeah, I actually
years of watching Simpsons to thank for that.
I actually wear glasses, so
yeah. So you're allowed to do that in a non-ironic way.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of non-irony.
Speaking of non-irony,
Beast Wars.
Rat Trap legitimately interacts with a rat in the service tunnels as if he has some sort of like magical connection to rats because of his beast form.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
He sees a rat, the rat looks at him, nods, and like gestures with his paw.
Oh, something we missed, actually, because it's going to come...
Did I miss something?
It's going to come up soon. There was a scene a little bit ago, around the time that Rat Trap and Megatron got lowered into the brig, we'll call it.
Yep.
We cut back to the Maximal base, and the Maximals were talking about what they were going to do about the whole Rat Trap situation, and Optimus is like, oh, we have to go after him. And Rhinox was like, why? What's the point? Let him go.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, and Optimus is like, he's too valuable to be in the hands of the Predacons, basically, because he knows too much. And
yeah, he's too valuable an asset.
Yeah. Dinobot is all like, indeed, and plus...
He agrees with Optimus, yeah.
And plus, if we bring him back, we must bring him back so he can face justice.
Yeah, he says, we need to neutralize Rat Trap so that we can bring him back to base and face justice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Is this the first time Dinobot is not all about death?
No,
neutralizing somebody? Or is it because he likes proper executions?
No, I think he wants to bring Rat Trap back so he can kill him.
Interesting that he just doesn't say we need to like take him out or we need to terminate him. He specifically wants to bring him back. So I think he likes formalities.
Yes.
He's very samurai-ish. I've said that before. He's very code of the warrior.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Rat Trap hits it up with a rat in the service tunnel.
Oh, yeah. And legitimately, the rat is just walking in the middle of the service tunnel because Rat Trap is at an intersection, like a plus sign. There's 3 ways he can go, forward, left, or right. And there's just a rat. He's just walking. And he looks at Rat Trap, and he gestures with his little head and points. Yeah. And then he just keeps walking. And then the Rat Trap turns to the camera, and I'm like, man, are there a lot of Deadpool-like moments where there's a subtle nod and they break the fourth wall?
Oh, yes. Yes, there
because
are.
He turns to the camera and kind of like does a shrug and he smiles.
He's like, yeah.
And I'm like, hey, you're not supposed to look at the camera. But then I also remembered that literally happens almost every episode. So.
Yes, it does.
So he follows the rat.
He follows
And
he follows the rat, and then we cut to the exterior of the Predacon base, where the Maximals are in beast form, kind of hiding out.
they're at a
yeah.
rocky outcrop.
Yeah, they're about to launch an attack to regain Rat Trap.
Yeah, and Dinobot is like, "Why do we wait? Let us attack now." And I think Optimus is like, "We attack when I'm the leader here. We attack when I give the order."
Yeah.
So he's waiting for some reason.
Yeah, so we're back in the Predacon ship after that, and
I think it shows Tarantulas like eyeballing a rat, like through a
yes.
grate.
That
It
does-
shows Tarantulas looking at a rat through a grate
Yeah.
as Rat Trap is walking down that like corridor that leads to the computer.
Yeah, and like he's about to eat the rat, but then like
That happens a little. That happens a little later. Right now, he's just looking at it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
so this is telling us that he's like watching a rat, right? And
Yeah.
then it cuts to
So Rat Trap is
yeah.
walking on this like platform that's fairly high up. And
Yeah, it's kind of like scaffolding that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
above.
Yeah, so he looks down and sees Waspinator working on a computer panel, and the computer panel is all like scanning maximal frequencies. Rat Trap's looking a little nervous, and then the computer is like, "No, maximal frequencies detected." And
That's right.
Yeah, and so Rat Trap like looks relieved, and then Waspinator fucks off.
Yeah, he just walks off.
Yeah. He
goes
just
through a
leaves.
door.
He's like, okay. He just shrugs and leaves. He doesn't actually shrug, but
And
like-
then and then Rat Trap like jumps down from the scaffolding and very loudly.
yeah, that was the thing that I
into
noticed
the-
earlier when
You
I was
too?
watching it too. Yeah, I'm
He
like,
very loudly slams into the metallic grate that's like the floor in front of this computer.
yeah, it's like, bro, like Waspinator just left like a couple seconds ago. Like, you don't think he's gonna hear that? Like, I know
Maybe that
I know
happens-
Waspinator's a fucking idiot, but still.
Maybe that happens so often in the ship. There's so many loud bangs and stuff like that all the time everywhere that or Waspinator's an idiot. I don't know. Or this one particular room.
Megatron is angry again.
Better hide. I can just picture him clutching like a little teddy bear and hiding. Aw, poor Waspinator. He's
Poor
like the
Waspinator,
special child of the group.
So, Rat Trap lands and goes up to the computer panel that Waspinator was mucking around with, and he rips
He like opens it.
he like rips it open quite aggressively, and there's a little chip on the circuit board that has a maximal symbol on it.
Yeah, he
And-
says, a maximal chip? Huh, no wonder. I feel like they could have disguised that a little better. He just rips this like computer chip cleanly out. And yeah, oh, does he put it in his little wrist storage thing?
He does. Also, it is one hell of a coincidence that Rat Trap just happened to stumble across the one particular computer console that has this maximal chip installed in it.
Christopher, we have 22 minutes to tell a complex story. We can't have him like go looking at a map, wandering around the whole base. The rat helped him because the rat has a psychic link to Rat Trap, and it knew the rat has been listening, and the rat knew that the Predacons had a maximal ship. Don't ask why a rat would even give a shit about what other creatures are up to, nor understand English, but the rat knew, and the rat led him to this room.
So why do Transformers speak English then?
Why do we speak English?
Bwong.
Inception buzz sound. Bwah. Do 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 do.
Anyway, so Rat Trap, after he grabs the chip and puts it into his little like forearm storage thingy, looks over, sees a door. We cut to back to Tarantulas, like kind of scoping out this little rat.
Oh yeah, this is the part that you were saying. He's actually holding it like above his head.
Yeah.
like terrorizing it as he's slowly lowering it into his like disgusting maw.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite vile. Tarantulas is a disgusting creature, both in appearance and in personality.
Both in appearance and in nature. Oh, then it just shows a little shot of Rat Trap's like feet. By the way, Rat Trap's in his maximal form the entire time. He's in his
Yeah.
robot form this whole time
Yeah.
and hasn't needed to transform, which I find interesting. And it shows his little feet, and he like hits a laser tripwire.
Yeah. That's exactly
someone
what I
who-
was going to call it.
Yeah, laser tripwire. As somebody who has played his fair share of tactical espionage action games, I am very familiar with laser tripwires. That's why you always have a pack of smokes on you.
I was just gonna mention that. That's why you need a pack of cigarettes.
And a ration after you're done. What the heck were we talking about? Oh, Tarantulas being a creepy...
Tarantulas is gross. He's about to
Yeah,
eat
there's
this.
a laser tripwire and a very... This is the voice of the computer that's been on the dark side, the Predacon base, the whole time. In a very... I don't know why I suddenly noticed that the voice was seductive, but when he trips it, she says... The AI voice says, unauthorized access to restricted zone. And an energy web materializes right in front of Rat Trap. What do you think about this energy web that, like, is invisible or isn't powered up or something? And then when he trips the laser, it, like, materializes.
Yeah, how does it suddenly materialize?
So it's clearly connected to the laser tripwire. So I'm wondering if it wasn't existed, and if it didn't exist, or like the energy wasn't there, and when he trips it, like there's some device that now forms it, or if it's invisible, like maybe that web doesn't exist, but like it's formed when someone activates because clearly Tarantulas actually eats rats.
Maybe it's like similar technology to like energy shields.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like it's a physical construct as long as it's powered.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That'd be
makes
my
sense.
guess.
Better than invisible energy webs. So Tarantulas hilariously just tosses the rat over his head
Yeah.
because he hears the voice, the seductive lady voice saying, repeatedly, by the way, unauthorized access to restricted zone. And he goes, and he tosses the rat. It's a very fat rat, probably the same one that was helping Rat Trap earlier.
I think
I was wondering
yeah.
how he was holding it, because he's in his beast mode, and he's holding it above his head with just one of his spider limbs, but the limb doesn't have like prehensile digits. It's just like a spider stump.
Maybe he coiled it around the rat's tail.
Yes, that makes sense. Well, that rat got to live, and actually both rats get to live. As it cuts to kind of like back and forth between Rat Trap and Tarantulas, as Tarantulas, like a xenomorph, is like crawling on the ceiling and the wall and sometimes on the sides, as he's hurriedly like going towards where his web is. And it shows Rat Trap, he's trapped, and he has some sort of energy, like a blade that comes out of his wrist, like he's Ezio Auditore di Firenze, and slices himself free from the web in like an upward swipe.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Like, you notice the Assassin's Creed blade, like, too? I was like,
hidden
man,
blade,
yeah, he's full of, like, I like Rat Trap. Episode 1, I was like, oh, I fucking hate this guy.
You hear that, listeners? This is some character development right here.
I'm like, he's got all these, like, little tools that, like, in a firefight, Rat Trap's, like, not the best. He's got a gun, just like a lot of the others do, and he's an okay shot. But, like, he has all of these, like, little, like, very situational, like, devices that, like, help him out.
He has a hidden blade. He has a lockpick pencil.
He has a thermal block that he can take out, and, like, it makes things hot. In the episode The Web, when he has that little thing, and we think it's a bomb, but it's just, like, a heat box.
Oh yeah, right. Fell for the old hot box. Right.
Yeah, that's my hot box. Don't mind the smell. He's got all these like little gadgets like hidden away in him, and I like that. So he goes through, and I think it shows him going back to the cage suspended above lava. And right as it shows him going back towards there, it shows Tarantulas finding his like broken web, and he kind of narrows his little like Tarantulas eyes and goes, And Tarantulas sees him going back into his cage, and Tarantulas says in his beast mode, his tarantula form, "So, the juicy rat has been running his maze. But not for long. Tarantulas,
And he gets like hilariously shot by Rat Trap.
This is the only time this happens in the show up to now.
And this
right?
is
we've been so used.
Yeah, this
Go ahead.
is what I was saying earlier. It was like kind of a hilarious like fuck you moment.
We're so used to seeing the Maximals and the Predacons either allow each other to maximize or terrorize, or they just kind of miss as somebody like transforms.
Mm-hmm.
But he's mid transformation. He literally says Tarantulas, and as he's transforming, he barely gets terrorize out, and he goes ah, and an explosion happens. It blows the bars off of the service tunnel and just sends Tarantulas flying backwards, and it cuts to Rat Trap holding his gun.
Yeah, and then we cut back to a shot of Tarantulas just mangled with like
he's
a big
like
ass
all
hole in
charred.
his chest. He's like
His
charred.
arm is missing.
He's twitching, and he's all like. It's actually kind of intense.
When it shows Tarantulas, he's missing his right arm. He's crispy and burnt. He's twitching in immense pain. Like, and I'm like, wow. Like he's that's it's kind of intense. I think we've talked a few times on the podcast about the Maximals and the Predacons like being in pain and it being like, holy shit. Like that's pretty extreme for like a kid. Because it looks like he's like dying and like he's in immense
just
pain.
Utter agony in this moment.
Yeah, he looks bad. He's missing limbs. He's crispy and burnt, and he's like twitching in pain and like
the
writhing,
sound
and
he's
making sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it cuts back to Rat Trap casually closing his cage. I don't know why he does this. But anyways, he closes the cage and locks himself back in it, and he taps his chest, kind of like in Reboot.
Yep.
Yeah, a la Reboot, he taps his chest and he says, "Time to join the party, big ape." Like he says big ape under his breath. I had to rewind it. I didn't hear him say that the first time, and I'm like, big ape. Oh. And it goes back out to the rocky outcropping outside of the base. And Optimus's chest, he's in this gorilla form, right?
Yeah.
It shows a little red light blink and a small beep. And Cheetor, and he kind of taps it, like to turn it off. And Cheetor says, "Hey, what's that?" Kind of like curiously.
And Optimus is just like, "We attack now."
Yeah, and then he ignores Cheetor and he says, "We attack now.
Maximize.
Maximize." And they all maximize.
And they all transform and immediately just start shooting.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. Their transformation animations are noticeably sped up in this scene, for whatever reason.
Yeah, I did notice that. They're like, "Come on, guys, we got to wrap this up. There's this huge battle scene that's going to happen," which is great.
Yeah, it's like they straight up just, like, somebody in the editing room just hit the fast forward button on this sequence.
Yeah, it depends how loud you say terrorize or maximize. When you whisper it, it's slow but very quiet, and when you yell it, it's very fast. And I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
So In the Predacon ship, Pterosaur is sitting in the captain's chair, and
He's in this
Waspinator...
little pterosaur-sized, like, throne chair attached to the ceiling. Because
Yeah,
the floor is lava, everything's attached to the ceiling here.
yeah.
And it's like, it's just big enough for him. And I'm like, hold up. Was this chair always here for him? Or did he have this, like, made as, like, his little throne? It's hilarious. He's in this, like, little, like, throne chair thing. And he yells, bah! And Waspinator goes, oh, maximal attack! The pterosaur says, why were we not warned by the code breaker? Where's Tarantulas? And Waspinator replies, maximal code breaking deactivated. Shields damaged.
And they keep getting hit, and Pterosaur Pterosaur hilariously is just like, bah! Bah! Bah!
Yeah, like 3 times.
Over and over again.
Ah! Every time, like, the ship rumbles because of the Maximals attacking.
Yeah.
He's just, like, legitimately actually terrified as he's holding on to his chair. And this is great. So he's screeching. Ah!
It's even more hilarious that he's, like, this is transpiring while he's in his fucking pterodactyl form, which
He's in his pterodactyl form,
in
by
and
the
of
way.
itself is just comical
I
looking.
always enjoy Pterosaur in his pterodactyl form because it's just a treat for the eyes. And Megatron very smoothly, because he's on a terror board, slides up beside or like almost behind him
Yeah.
in his Predacon form, in his robot form. And Pterosaur screeches another time in surprise. Like, terrified, like he's almost shaking.
Yeah.
And Megatron with just a shit-eating grin.
Yeah, and he's all like,
What did you do, Megatron?
well, what now, leader?
How shall we respond? And Pterosaur is, like, cowering in his, like, little throne chair. And he goes, Megatron, you will allow me to lead?
And Megatron is all like, the wise tyrant always allows a fool to lead during a crisis. Yes.
That's right. And
Which is kind of, I mean,
stupid?
yeah. I mean, on one hand, like, when shit inevitably goes wrong, it's like, you could just blame it on them.
Is that what that means? That's what I was trying to interpret that, and I'm like, that is stupid. But a wise tyrant always allows a fool to take the lead during a crisis. So
Yeah.
is that so that when things go wrong inevitably, that it's someone else's fault?
I think so, yeah.
Because at first I was like, that's fucking stupid. But now that I'm, like, thinking about it and I'm looking at my notes and I'm discussing it with you, it makes sense that a wise tyrant would let an idiot fall guy to lead when there's, like, an inescapable crisis, so that they're to blame.
Yeah, and so, like, Megatron can just point at Pterosaur at the end of all of this and be like, so, other Predacons, do you want to follow this fucking idiot? No? Of course you don't.
Which ends up actually happening.
Which does end up actually happening.
So that makes sense. I appreciate that line now more that I've read it. I've watched the episode a couple times. He scratches his pterodactyl head after this, like, weird, obvious insult. Like, he was just called a fool. But he scratches his head, and then he points at the other Predacons that are in their beast modes, and he says, release my lieutenant, and prepare to counterattack. Predacons, terrorize!
Which really isn't even much of a plan.
I was hoping that he would be like, prepare a sortie. which I have now learned the definition of.
But yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, like, oh, we're being attacked, prepare for a counterattack, or prepare for a sortie. Like, it's not much of a plan. Like, it's a very reactionary thing.
What else are you gonna do? activate the ship's weapons, which apparently the ship
They're
has.
in range of?
I don't. Who knows? Apparently, Sector 12 is within range of the Predacon ship's weapons.
Yeah. So they...
Yeah, oh, by the way, they all transform. With my homeboy Pterosaur yelling "terrorize." They all
Yeah.
actually don't say it. They just transform, much like the Maximals transformed when Optimus yelled "maximize."
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode when it was just Optimus and Dinobot.
No, I mean when they were
Oh, even earlier when
about
they
to
started,
attack.
When they started the
Optimus
battle, yeah.
says, "Yeah, it's just Optimus that says maximize," and they all do without having to say it. But as we've discovered, that's kind of like a loose rule.
Yeah.
If you feel like it, you can say it out loud.
Yeah.
It feels like if you're by yourself, you have to say it though. It shows them all the Predacons running out of the Predacon base to go fight the Maximals. Rat Trap is running alongside Blackarachnia, so it kind of shows that all of them are leaving the base together.
Mm-hmm.
Rhinox says, "We're outnumbered," and Optimus says, "They've transformed the Protoform Maximal, but we have a secret weapon. Fight on!" And there's rad like guitar riffs going on, especially during this. This is a great fight scene. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Also,
And-
I would like to point out that just before, right after this, Optimus takes off into flight.
Right after it, oh, go ahead. I know what you're
But-
going to say, but go ahead.
Oh, but just before he takes off into flight, his little face shield thing closes
Okay,
and
I
covers
have
his
this
mouth.
in my notes. Have we ever seen this before?
No, we have not.
Okay, I was watching
will-
and I'm like, hold up. Is there like a metallic like cover of his like mouth? Yeah, there is.
We haven't seen it before in the series. We will see it again many times. But I would like to say, even Optimus fucking Primal wears a mask.
That's right.
So
Before he goes engages in close quarters with the Predacons, his like mouth covering like a metallic kind of like face shield pops up, and
yeah.
if he can do it
So
in 1996,
if Optimus Primal can put on a mask in 1996, all of you, yes, even you, can do it in 2020.
and people are like, "Oh, it's uncomfortable." Oh, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but so are jeans the first time you wear them.
Yep.
Like when I was a
Also-
kid, I was all about the sweatpants and shorts, and I
Yes.
hated jeans.
Yeah, so did I.
So it's not just me.
No.
It's like that. You get used to it as soon as it's on your face for 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I wear a mask at work all the time now.
Yeah.
Like, the only time I take it off pretty much is when I go for break to eat. But other than that, I just have my mask on all day. So I'm wearing a mask for like 8 hours a day. And
You mean you
like,
don't only eat liquids and you don't pour it straight through the mask? Like some sort of like filter?
I don't even know how that would work.
It wouldn't, and it would be very messy. People would look at you like you're insane.
But yeah. Anyway. You get used to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Optimus wears a mask and then takes off into flight. And Rhinox is shooting his Gatling gun thingy.
Oh, yeah, his like gat. And I swear, at one point he had a normal gun like everyone else. But now he's just got this gat. And at first I'm thinking...
He's always had this Gatling gun.
Yeah, but what I mean is the very first battle it showed him use it was when Waspinator was like sneaking up behind him at Stonehenge, wasn't it? Maybe I'm wrong. Doesn't matter.
I think he used it going all the way back to the beginning.
But speaking of Waspinator and a Gatling gun, for the second time, Waspinator gets shredded apart by Rhinox. And know what I said about like the rock paper scissors?
Yeah.
Waspinator always gets shredded by Rhinox's like awesome like machine gun. It's got little blades that spin on it too.
Yeah.
I just noticed. And he just shoots the hell out of Waspinator, and he falls over backwards. like
Yeah.
twitching and making waspinator sounds.
And so, not Waspinator, Optimus Primal is flying through the air, and Pterosaur notices this and tells Rat Trap that it's time to prove his loyalty to the Predacons and fire upon Optimus.
And then they look up, and the camera looks up too. And
Rat Trap
yeah.
starts firing. He misses the first few
3 times, yeah.
but then he hits Optimus, and Optimus comes crashing down to the ground.
Yeah, he yells and falls to the ground. And Cheetor says, he like looks on in surprise, and he says, "Rat Trap, it's true!" And he like cheetah growls.
Wow. And Blackarachnia shows up and points a gun at Optimus.
Oh, her gun transforms after she aims it at Optimus, who's lying on the ground, and it almost looks like a missile crossbow.
Yes. It's the same weapon that Tarantulas has.
Ah, that makes sense.
See,
he is his weird science girl. She is his weird science girlfriend.
See, when I was a kid, I had the toys of both Tarantulas and Blackarachnia. Blackarachnia was just a redeco of Tarantulas. So,
but did she have boobs?
No. So her look in the show is very much not how she looked as a toy. She just looked like Tarantulas, but with a different color scheme. So in the show, like, her bodacious body is just very much a thing that is of the show.
Speaking of Blackarachnia, though, as she's aiming the gun at the fallen Optimus, somebody shoots her weapon out of her hand, and she like screeches out in anger and pain.
Yeah.
And she sees Cheetor shooting at her. And she like starts casually like strutting towards Cheetor.
Mm-hmm.
And he angrily starts running towards her, and he starts shooting like repeatedly. And one shot, he's missing a few times. One shot knocks off her spider legs because they're like stretching out from her back, right? And she just kind of like
they're
shrugs it off.
No, they're connected to her arms.
Oh, are they connected to her arms?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So
and they just
there's
fly.
There's 4 sticking out of like
each arm,
each of her biceps.
Rad. And I think they just shoot and like fall right off, and she kind of looks and as if she doesn't give any shits.
Yeah.
And then another shot misses. In the background, we see Scorponok get shot and fly back, and I rewound.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, he's cat because there's so much going on with Blackarachnia in the foreground, strutting and like getting and shrugging shots off as Cheetor is like shooting her. I rewound and I only noticed it like the third time that Scorponok is in the back, and it's either one of Cheetor's shots randomly hits Scorponok, or because he's got...
Okay, so I'm just watching this now, and yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, one of Cheetor's stormtrooper shots that like completely misses Blackarachnia just like hilariously blows Scorponok back.
Because I had nothing better to do, apparently, I analyzed that, and the shot that hits Scorponok is coming from a slightly different angle than the shots that hit Blackarachnia. But then I think, wait a second, nobody else has like a plasma like gun in this battle besides Cheetor and Rat Trap, because Optimus is on the ground, Dinobot has eye lasers and his sword and flippy tail, and Rhinox has his gat.
Please, it is a drill rapier, good sir.
The drill rapier. Use its proper name. and I again, because of weird, like, I obsessed over this like scene for some reason, and I was like, oh, that shot looks like it comes from a different direction than Cheetor's shots. Does that mean that Rat Trap got a sneaky shot off at Scorponok?
Oh.
I'm the only human that has ever noticed that little detail in history, and I will forget in a couple weeks. But thank you for listening.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not wrong. But at least I noticed Scorponok getting shot in the background.
Which I didn't, and you pointed it out. And now I have watched it for myself. And
It's funny.
It is hilarious. So Cheetor is just charging toward Blackarachnia, and she just raises a foot right to his face and kicks him.
Yeah, he goes for like a tackle or who knows what he's going to do, but she just like straight legs like his face. And interesting, like the animators are getting really good. Like chunks of his like headpiece just like fly off. He's got like little like accents like above his eyes, and like just metallic chunks just fly off as he like runs into Blackarachnia's like kick.
Yeah. So he falls to the ground, and Blackarachnia says something to him that I have wondered about since I was 11 years old.
She leans down and says in her gravelly voice, "Another time." I had depressing levels of journalistic integrity, of true journalism during this scene.
Legitimate journalism.
I rewound, went forward, like many times, and I don't know why, but she leans down and says, "Another time," and she walks away after stepping on his face.
Stepping on his face, yeah.
Now, if you're into some interesting stuff, this could be a very sexy scene. Because she just decked this guy. He's like barely conscious, and she leans down and like whispers "another time" before like stepping on his face and walking away. And it's followed her like fearlessly like strutting towards him. I'm not gonna say it did it for me, but I'm sure there are people out there that really liked that and I'm not saying Blackarachnia is a dominatrix. But if she wanted to be, I'm just saying she might be very good at it.
Now that you're pointing it out, yes, I definitely get the dominatrix vibes from her.
But also remember, as my partner pointed out, adults made this. It is not an accident that Tarantulas was a desperate, like, weird creep earlier when he programmed her. And it's not an accident when she was, like, strutting, like, walking up to Cheetor. I think this is,
And it's not an accident that she has big-ass titties.
It's not an accident that she has big-ass golden titties and that she, like, stepped on his face. I almost expected Cheetor to say, "Thank you, Mommy," as she walked away. Maybe she likes submissive guys that let her walk on them, literally. Come on, there are adults listening to this. Watch this scene and tell me that I'm wrong.
I kind of wondered, I've always kind of wondered watching this episode if, like, there was they were originally planning to explore that there was some history between Blackarachnia and Cheetor when she was still...
it's a sexual history.
When she was still a Maximal.
That would have been cool.
They don't go there.
But they kept their memories, that would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool. And, like, I always kind of thought that, like, maybe the writers were kind of planning to go that route, but then ultimately just didn't.
Or producers stepped in and they were like, keep relationships out of the kids' show. Maybe. We're speculating here.
Well...
Oh, wait, yeah, never mind.
Relationships do happen.
They happen, yeah.
They do, yeah.
I ship Blackarachnia and Cheetor. And their interesting dom-sub relationship. Anyways, folks, Pterosaur is looming over Rat Trap for some reason. Presumably, like he almost like kind of like he is looming over him because it cuts to him. Maybe Rat Trap's accidentally shot Scorponok earlier.
Oh shit!
But we don't get to. Yeah, I know. I said I got obsessive about this fight, and he's looming over him, but we don't get to find out why because Dinobot storms up behind him. Pterosaur makes a pathetic surprised sound, and he grabs him by his gun hand, and you very quietly, if you listen, you hear, because this is all happening very fast, you hear Pterosaur mutter, "Oh no!" right before Dinobot fucking headbutts him. He headbutts him, and you just hear, "Ugh!" and he tosses him aside like a bitch. Like, he just goes and fucking absolutely wrecks Pterosaur. Like, he manhandles him. And I'm like, there's a little something in this episode for everyone.
And then after that, Dinobot charges toward Rat Trap and grabs him by the throat and says,
Like I said, a little something for everyone.
and says like something along the lines of,
I
"And that-"
awaited this meeting, traitor.
Yeah.
Oh, prepare. And he raises a fist, his like raptor foot fist, and says, prepare to terminate.
Prepare for justice, bitch.
I found that line interesting. Prepare to terminate. Because I think this is the second time Rat Trap has been told that.
to make preparations for his demise.
And like you said earlier, you're like, how does one prepare in the heat of the moment for that? Clench.
Yeah. So Dinobot gets pulled away as his head is grabbed by Megatron's T-Rex arm
Hand.
thingy.
Hand?
Yes.
Lots of teeth. T-Rex head, which in his robot form is his right hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. He's holding Dinobot like right by the head and lifting him off the ground. So now Dinobot's getting manhandled. And he's just like hanging there helplessly.
Yeah. And Megatron is like, and now he says something along the lines of,
Time for the final test, Maximal.
yes.
Predacon hero or Maximal spy?
Cheers.
Destroy the traitor Dinobot. And it shows Dinobot kind of angrily and helplessly grimacing in the clutches of Megatron. And Rat Trap hesitantly aims his gun. And Megatron, it zooms in on Megatron, and he's grimacing as well. And Pterosaur, out of nowhere, he's like, because apparently he's not knocked out, he comes out of nowhere and he's like, he is my lieutenant! Destroy him! And he kind of like stomps like an angry child. I command you! And Rat Trap, as if he basically gives the same order that Megatron does, he just wants to feel in charge. And
yes, that is exactly what happens. And so Rat Trap is like kind of just does the whole like looking back and forth at the two of them. And then he decides to shoot Pterosaur in the head and blows his head off. And then Dinobot...
But before that, ladies and gentlemen, this is a kid's show, and what Christopher said is he shoots point blank, he shoots Pterosaur, and he blows his fucking head right off. Figuratively, his head goes flying, and he stumbles backwards and doesn't move.
Yes, this is not figurative. This is literal. He blows his fucking head off.
I was like, holy shit. Like, they amped up the violence on this show.
And, like, Pterosaur's head straight up has, like, wire... Like, his neck, his severed neck, has, like, wires sticking out of it
arcs,
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Yeah, and you can hear his head screaming as, like, his head flies off.
Yeah.
It's great. So, yeah, sorry, go ahead,
So,
Dinobot.
Dinobot takes this as a cue to, like, elbow Megatron in the chest.
To get out of his grasp, he leans back. He kicks Megatron's knee.
Oh.
And Megatron falls a bit, and that's how he escapes his grasp. Like, he does a little like maneuver with his like foot, and he like inverts his knee. And that's when he turns around and he turns around now that he's on the ground, and he just punches him right in the head. And then he goes for the triple combo. He like karate knees him in the chest.
Yeah.
And Rat Trap is covering his eyes for some reason. And when he peers through his fingers, he moves his hand and then smiles, seeing the Dinobot like got out and did this.
And then Megatron spits out a tooth.
Oh yeah, his like he like groans and he spits out a tooth. He's got these like little like digitized like metal or not digitized like lines almost signifying teeth. I think he's the only one. He spits out a tooth, groans, and falls over. And he spits out a tooth and groans and falls over. Before we finish the episode, Dinobot fucking wrecks Pterosaur and Megatron in this scene.
Yeah.
Like, he is so dangerous. Like, he doesn't even need a gun. He's got his, like, and he didn't even need his sword, apparently, either. He's got kung fu and his eye lasers. That's why he doesn't even need a gun. He's got everything.
I now see, after, like, we're what, like 7 episodes in, After several direct hand-to-hand confrontations between Dinobot and Megatron, I now see why Megatron needed Scorponok and his cross-country missiles in the first episode. Because he
can't take him.
He can't take Dinobot hand-to-hand.
No, from a medium to long distance, he could, like, T-Rex purple laser
Yeah.
him, but, like, close quarters, especially if Dinobot has his drill rapier and his whirly tail, which has done nothing the entire show. But he doesn't even need those things. He's like a master, like, triple black belt, like, MMA champion. He can kick anybody's butt, especially Megatron's.
He is quite the brute force hand-to-hand fighter.
Yeah. So Optimus, seeing that this is happening, he yells out, "Now, get Rat Trap out of there!" And Rhinox kind of clasps his hands together like he's praying for a second and transforms into his rhinoceros form. He doesn't say maximize. He charges, and then he charges, and it shows a scene of Scorponok and Waspinator standing there doing nothing. and they're kind of like Waspinator's like claws are chittering in like fear, and Rhinox just charges through them like he's hitting bowling pins.
Yeah.
they just fly off. I find that funny that Waspinator is not in the sky during this battle,
Considering he's a flyer.
and that's his only advantage in combat. But he's just gotten his butt kicked by Rhinox in this battle twice now. And yeah, so those guys go flying. He continues his rampage, hitting Megatron and knocking him aside. And he yells, "Let's go!" And Rat Trap jumps on his back. And then it shows Dinobot running closely behind them. And
Yes.
Optimus puts his hands up and he yells, "Mission accomplished! Return to base!" And it shows all the Maximals running off. Just like hilariously, just like legging it.
Yeah.
Oh, curious. Maybe it's the first time I've noticed it. Cheap or like cheap tin or plastic sounds are heard for some reason. Like someone tapping a plastic lid on a Folgers coffee can for sound effects of them running away. It just sounds like ding 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 ding. Like somebody like tapping like a plastic lid as they're running away, and I'm like,
So, yeah, so I noticed that earlier when I was watching
too?
the episode. Yeah, and I honestly, like at first, I was like, what the hell is that sound? And like, I have a fairly decent speaker system in my house, so I was like, is that just like someone clanging something outside?
I rewound it twice and rewinded or rewound. I don't know. Rewinded it twice, and I was like, is that the sound they're using for them running away? Sounds like somebody like in the distance, like banging a pot, right? I don't know. It's
Someone in the sound editing department was, facing a deadline, so they had to cut some corners.
Yeah. just smack the table a few times. Good enough.
Yeah. So
Only 2 people in the year 2020 are going to notice. So corner cut successfully.
So
we don't jump back to the base. It shows the Predacons, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Predacons who are all like scorched, mangled, fucked up.
They hobble. They like hobble back into a circle.
Pterosaur is decapitated.
Oh,
and
this is weird. You're right. Pterosaur's decapitated, but he's like moving and he's stumbling on the ground as if to like pick up his head.
Yeah, and Megatron is all like, and so ends the glorious reign of Pterosaur.
Now, which of you glorious victors would still follow this fool's lead?
Yeah, he's like, a lost battle, a missing Blackarachnia, and who knows what damage inflicted by the Maximal spy.
Oh, good memory, yeah. He says, a lost battle, a missing Blackarachnia, and who knows what damage inflicted by the Maximal spy.
Which implies that after the battle, she just kind of fucked off.
Yeah, when she said another time, she just like stepped on Cheetor's head and like pieced out. Curious.
Seems like she's kind of out for herself already.
Good. Or maybe she's a free spirit like Tigatron. Oh, Pterosaur's head? Yeah, so then he says, now, which of you glorious victors would still follow this fool's lead?
And they all step
And
back.
Scorponok immediately steps back, and now Pterosaur's head is, like, on somehow. And he looks around, and the others step back, too.
He puts it on back onto his
Yeah,
shoulders.
he fumbles around and he puts it on himself. And they look around and everybody steps back. And then Pterosaur's head comically falls back off because it's obvious. Oh, before his head falls off, he kind of like puts up his hands and kind of goes and like kind of playfully kind of like laughs and puts his hands up in case, because Megatron's looming over him, and he's kind of just like, oh, it's just a harmless, you know me.
Yeah, and
Who's the Autobot version of Pterosaur?
The Decepticon.
Yeah, sorry, the
Starscream.
Decepticon. Like Starscream, he's kind of all just like, I had to try, kind of like putting his hands up, and then his head comically falls off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like,
he says, oh, my aching head.
yeah, and like in all of these episodes, like all of the episodes that we've seen so far where Pterosaur has been all like, oh, we can overthrow Megatron and take over the Predacons, or like, Megatron is obsolete. I am your new That's very Starscream shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Starscream, he's just a lovable scamp that Megatron like smacks around and forgives and then falls back in line.
So, yeah, well, Megatron was ranting at Pterosaur about how much he fucked up. Pterosaur's head falls back off of his body and lands on the ground, and he's all like, oh, my aching head. And then
their heads can operate independently. Or sorry, their heads can operate just fine, not attached to their body.
Yeah.
Or at least pterosaurs can.
So we cut back to an exterior shot of the Axolon, but which is a very unusual thing. We immediately have like action music, the battle music,
because it shows Dinobot spinning his whirlybird tail
inside the maximal base,
which there's barely enough room for. Yeah, at Rat Trap. And Rat Trap's kind of like backing away, like holding up his hands, like, no! Is he stopped by Optimus?
He is stopped by Optimus, and Dinobot's just like, oh, yes, I will destroy the traitor. And Optimus is like, no, allow me to congratulate him.
Yeah, what a setup. No, allow me. And like everyone kind of looks at each other nervously. To congratulate him, and he walks over like somebody giving an Employee of the Month award, and like doesn't he shake his hand, and like kind of they both kind of like turn and smile.
And Dinobot makes a hilarious face.
Yeah, they like turn and like smile, and they're confused.
And yeah, and everyone's like, "What?" Basically,
what?
What?
And they kind of, to wrap things up, they kind of explain, oh, blah, blah, blah. He was, like, working with us, like, the whole time. And I think it's Rhinox that's like, why didn't you tell us?
We had to keep his cover safe, but you didn't have to make it so believable. And Rat Trap...
Oh, and he rubs his shoulder.
Rat Trap is all like, hey, what can I say? I was trying to miss.
That's right. And then it turns to, like, Optimus, and he's, like, kind of makes, like, a face.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to Rat Trap, and it ends with him, like, pointing and going, eh! Like the fawns. And everything worked out after all.
So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast recording, this is, to date, my favorite episode of Beast Wars.
This is the most we've talked about an episode, with, apart from going off topic or whatever, just because, like, there's so many interesting scenes.
This is going to be our longest episode by a long shot. Like, even
it
with
is very interesting, yeah.
Like even with editing, this episode's probably going to be at least like 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and we've stayed on topic for this one.
For the most part,
I would argue
yeah.
Probably better than most episodes. And there's just so much to it.
At least compared to the last few weeks, anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so with that note, we, at this point, have been recording for over 3.5 hours, so I'm ready to call it a night. How about you?
It's time to go. I've been NeoCal.
I have been Christopher Siege. If you would like to send us an email, please do so at toomuchenergon@outlook.com. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/toomuchenergon.
Buy Christopher his Japanese Beast Wars figurines on his Amazon wish list.
Buy me my Blackarachnia love pillow that is on my J list. Wish
Your
list.
your JO list?
Yes, that exactly. Yeah, be sure to subscribe to us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere.
If you Google Too Much Energon podcast, it's pretty hard to not find us.
We will be back next week with the 8th episode in production order, Power Surge.
Power Surge.
Which was the 6th episode in U.S. broadcast order. I have been Christopher Siege.
And I'm NeoCal.
And until next time, Beast Mode.
Beast Mode.
Beast mode!